We've all heard about the immense power of atomic bombs, right? Those spine-chilling images from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They're almost like scenes from a dystopian movie. Now here's the thing. If you're anywhere near the blast, you just vanish before you even had a chance to blink. Now, imagine someone walking out of that horror, dusting themselves off and saying, "Whew, that was close." Crazy, right? But what if that same guy did it again? Yeah, you heard me right. Twice. Sounds too wild to be true? Well, this is the story of Tsutomu Yamaguchi, the man with more lives than a cat, who stared down 2 atomic bombs and lived to tell the story. And before we get started, if you're new to the channel, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you don't miss any future videos we upload. Well, it all happened in August 1945, when the curtain was about to close on World War II. Out of the blue, the US drops 2 atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, just 3 days apart. The devastation? Unimaginable, with over 100,000 lives instantly snuffed out. But amidst this chaos, Tsutomu Yamaguchi walks out of the fire twice. Now, Yamaguchi, he was just about done with his stint in Hiroshima. The guy was there on a business trip for Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, burning the midnight oil on some new oil tanker design. August 6th was meant to be a wrap on his trip. Just one last day and he'd be heading back to his family, his wife, Hisako, and their baby boy, Katsutoshi. At the day of the first blast, in early morning, around 8:15, Yamaguchi's making his way to the Mitsubishi shipyard. Suddenly, there's this drone of an airplane. He looks up, spots an American B-29 bomber, and then sees it drop this tiny little thing connected to a parachute. Before he knows it, the sky's lit up brighter than the 4th of July. He dives into a ditch just in time, but the explosion's shockwave tosses him about like a rag doll, landing him smack in the middle of a potato patch. And get this, he was practically next door to where the bomb landed, just 2 miles away. Imagine waking up. Everything's pitch black. Ash is raining down, and looming over the city is this massive, menacing mushroom cloud. Yamaguchi's in bad shape. Burned, can't hear a thing because his eardrums have burst. But this guy's resilience? Unbelievable. He gets to his feet, stumbles to the Mitsubishi shipyard, and finds 2 buddies who had also somehow made it. The next bit sounds like something straight out of a movie. After spending a night in a shelter, they hear a whisper that there's a train station that's still functioning. And guess what they decide to do? Yep, they head right for it. Yamaguchi and his pals, they're making their way through Hiroshima, right? And let me tell you, it's like they've stepped into a post-apocalyptic horror film. The whole city's aflame. Buildings are shattered like broken toys. And the streets? Lined with haunting sights of bodies, some charred, others melted, all lifeless. Imagine having to swim through a river, but instead of water, it's a morbid sea of floating dead. Gives you the shivers, doesn't it? But Yamaguchi pushes through, and soon enough, he's on a train packed with survivors, all sporting the same dazed and burned look, heading to Nagasaki, his hometown. Yamaguchi finally pulls into Nagasaki the morning of August 8th. The guy's a mess. I mean, he survived an atomic bomb. He heads to the hospital, and get this, the doc's an old school buddy. But the injuries? They're so severe that even his old friend couldn't recognize him. And his family, they think he's some kind of a ghost. Now, this guy, burns and all, somehow still gets out of bed on August 9th and believes he should clock in at Mitsubishi's Nagasaki branch. By 11 a.m., he was in this meeting where his boss wants all the dirt on what went down in Hiroshima. Yamaguchi paints a grim picture. Blinding lights, ear-splitting booms, the whole shebang. But his boss? He's skeptical, thinking, one bomb, an entire city? You pulling my leg? And just as he's defending his sanity, wouldn't you know it, another flash, blindingly white, lights up the entire city. Yamaguchi's reflexes kick in, diving to the ground just moments before the shockwave turns the office windows into lethal shrapnel. Yamaguchi, in a daze, thinks, has the nightmare from Hiroshima followed me here? This bomb, turns out, was even more beastly than Little Boy. But guess what? Nagasaki's unique topography and some sturdy stairwell construction dampened the explosion's wrath in the office. Yamaguchi's injuries from Hiroshima might have saved him again. His bandages get blown off, but the man's still standing. Twice in 3 days, this guy's been within 2 miles of nuclear hellfire. Twice, he's walked away. With the Mitsubishi office now looking like a haunted skeleton, Yamaguchi's mind races to his family. He sprints through Nagasaki's chaos, fearing every step could bring heartbreaking news. He arrives home, sees part of it in ruins, but sighs in relief upon finding his wife and son with just minor injuries. Here's the kicker. His wife had been out getting burn ointment for him when the bombs dropped. They found refuge just in time. It's weird, right? If Hiroshima hadn't scorched Yamaguchi, Nagasaki might have robbed him of his family. Talk about fate playing its wild cards. The weight of 2 atomic blasts isn't easy on anyone's body or soul. For Yamaguchi, the aftermath was brutal. His hair began to shed. The wounds on his arms festered and became gangrenous, and the world became an endless cycle of nausea and pain. By August 15th, when Japan's Emperor Hirohito aired the country's surrender, Yamaguchi was in a bomb shelter, teetering on the edge of life and the afterlife. To be or not to be, he might have thought. Every ounce of energy consumed by illness, feeling like he was about to embark on that final journey. But, as we've seen, Yamaguchi was no ordinary soul. As weeks turned into months, he not only defied death, but began to rebuild his life. He started translating for the US troops during Japan's occupation, taught eager young minds, and finally returned to the familiar corridors of Mitsubishi as an engineer. The man was nothing short of a phoenix, not only rising from the ashes, but also giving life to 2 more beautiful souls in the 1950s, his daughters. Now, to cope with the trauma, he turned to poetry, each verse becoming a cathartic channel, a silent cry, a testament of survival. But for a good part of his life, he wore a veil of silence, speaking of his ordeal only in whispers, if at all. It wasn't until the 2000s that this veil lifted, propelling him onto the global stage as an anti-nuclear advocate. From releasing memoirs to addressing the hallowed chambers of the United Nations in 2006, he championed the cause of disarmament. Having been in the jaws of atomic doom twice, it's destiny calling me to speak out, he reflected in his powerful UN speech. It's worth noting that Yamaguchi wasn't the lone soul to bear the scars of both Hiroshima and Nagasaki. His colleagues Iwanaga and Sato, and even a kite maker named Morimoto, who had a tryst with death a mere half-mile from Hiroshima's ground zero, lived to tell the tale. Records suggest there might have been about 165 such souls. Yet, only Yamaguchi got the official nod from the Japanese government as a double-Hibakusha, the twice-bombed person. In 2009, with the spirit that had stared down 2 nuclear apocalypses, Yamaguchi was finally recognized. He basked in that distinction for a year before taking his final bow at 93. Last but not least, Tsutomu Yamaguchi's story is more than just a testament to human resilience. It's a glaring beacon, reminding us of the depths and heights of humanity's potential. From the dark abyss of destruction to the unparalleled spirit of survival and advocacy for peace. As we step back and reflect on his extraordinary journey, let it serve as a call to arms, not for war, but for understanding, for unity, and for ensuring that such horrors remain in the annals of history, never to be repeated. For while we marvel at Yamaguchi's survival, let us fervently hope that no soul ever again has to walk his path. In remembering him, let's vow to seek peace, to cherish every moment, and to uplift each other. For in that shared humanity lies our true strength. And that wraps up today's video. We really hope you found it informative and learned something new. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to share them in the comment section below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon if you haven't already, so you never miss out on our daily informative videos. Thanks so much for tuning in, and best of luck.